Hi, thanks for tuning in. Welcome to Some Smoothies. This is Season 2, Episode 10. My name is Joshua. I'm an aspiring screenwriter and barista, and Some Smoothies is a 30-minute weekly live stream in which I'll share and discuss blended beverages. This is an outlet. It's a place for me to work out recipes and hopefully connect a little bit with your taste buds. I should caution that we're taking a broad definition of the word smoothie, and discussion may range as far afield as, like, say, a malted milkshake, all the way to like a 3 to 4 day old glass of tap water. So, welcome. Thanks for tuning in. Hi, that was a cool alternate timeline. I'm glad we're back in this one, I think. This is in fact Some Soothings, and this is our Season 2 finale. Welcome. Thank you for tuning in. Thanks for hanging all season long. So quick housekeeping. We are archiving these episodes on IGTV. It's in my profile. I'll get the show up as quick as I can in case the stream gets weird unintentionally. If you want to learn more about anything that we talk about on tonight's show, there's an info doc. It's in the pinned comment down below there. I can't really clock your comments as we're going, but I am recording them, so I'll check them out later when I'm drinking my nightly glass of 3 to 4 day old tap water. Per usual, our season finale will be kind of like music heavy, and so the regular segments will be like somewhat abbreviated and shuffled around a little bit just to leave a little extra time for a little bit extra music. We will be back with new episodes in mid to late November. Gosh, the alternate timeline version of me was like looking pretty good. I wonder how many free throws that guy's making. Anyway, we'll be back with new episodes in mid to late November. I'll give y'all lead time. I'll post on Instagram well ahead of relaunch once I pin down the exact date. So it'll be about a month from now. Okay. Thank you for hanging with us. Let's get going. Let's look at some art. This is Departure by Agnes Pelton. This is an oil on canvas from 1952. It is currently hanging at the Whitney Museum of American Art, and I saw it with my very own real-life eyeballs. These ones. I will likely do a full segment on Pelton's work next season, but for now I just want to speak, really briefly about my my very personal experience. This is, what happened for me going to a museum during a pandemic. So, the Whitney seems to be taking like super mindful precautions. There's time ticketing. There's totally contactless entry. There's a distance temperature check machine. Masks are required. And also enforced. Someone was scolded. It was not me. I'm not going to say who it was. But the Whitney is on it. They are scolding mask nose people. There's hand sanitizer everywhere, and attendance is limited to 25% capacity. I think it's also worth noting that museums too, because they house priceless artifacts. They're designed with really elaborate climate control systems, and so air circulation, ventilation, it's just it's an additional measure of safety, I think, for attending a space like that. The Whitney occupies a really special place in my heart. I've had really just profound experiences of the sublime within its walls, and to be frank, I kind of hoped to take advantage of reduced capacity. An empty museum, a day at an empty museum, is a real dream. So that said, it was not that empty. I went on a Thursday afternoon, and there were folks in every gallery that I went into. And other attendees seemed to be treating the space maybe as more of a site of social gathering than usual. So many of the benches were occupied with friends chatting, which is, in pre-COVID, like that's not really a thing, or at least not to this level, it didn't seem like. So that lent like a little bit of a different atmosphere to the museum going experience. But rooms are really big, ceilings are really high. I never really found myself close to anybody else. And I found that other attendees were like generally really mindful of distancing and spacing and the amount of space they were occupying. I didn't feel like I was looking over my shoulder the whole time. And on occasion, like I may have momentarily forgotten we were in the midst of a global pandemic. It felt really nice to walk around the museum. As I said, it's a special place for me, and it felt really, I don't know, something about the way that my shoulders set walking around an art museum feels really good. This Agnes Pelton show in particular was like really soothing. These warm color washes, soft forms with like a hint of the mystical. It was just a really lovely show. But I think I won't be going back. I've been spending a lot of time reflecting on this, thinking it through, and like everybody, like trying to respond thoughtfully to unprecedented circumstances. We're improvising, and I'm trying to find the edges of moral behavior, like what is good communal activity, like what is ethic in a pandemic. And so here's where I'm landing. Next week, my annual membership to the Whitney expires, and I will definitely be renewing it, for sure, no question. But I don't think I'll be attending the museum again anytime soon. I'm just not comfortable valuing my desire to experience art above the safety and well-being of museum staff and security and their families and their loved ones. It's not like I'm boycotting. I'm not judging anyone who comes to a different conclusion. This is complicated stuff. It's just not for me right now. I don't think. Which like breaks my heart a little bit to say aloud, like into this webcam, because it sort of concretizes my position. I really miss museums and I really miss art experiences, and so I'll probably revise this decision at some point, but for now, it's just not for me. So, a visit to the Whitney. It was great. I highly recommend it. It's just not for me right now. I do encourage you all to investigate the virtual programming, which has been really consistently strong. There's 2 online presentations about this Agnes Pelton show this coming week on Tuesday and on Thursday. I think Thursday. Info about them is in the info doc. And hopefully I'll see you there. Okay, so each week on Some Soothings, we take a brief look at an organization or an organizer that's doing work that we really admire. All I've researched and already donated to the org, and in sharing it with you all, I'm encouraging you, if you're able, to consider donating as well. So this week we are looking at Black Youth Project 100. In their words, quote, BYP 100 is a national member-based organization of Black 18 to 35-year-old activists and organizers dedicated to creating justice and freedom for all Black people. We do this through building a network focused on transformative leadership development, direct action organizing, advocacy, and political education using a Black, queer, feminist lens. BYP 100 envisions a world where all Black people have economic, social, political, and educational freedom. So, awesome. The work focuses on tempering anti-Blackness and emphasizing the urgency of protecting folks living on, quote, the margins of the margins, including women, girls, femmes, and the gamut of LGBTQ individuals, end quote. So they offer training in grassroots organizing, training in fundraising and public policy, and in electoral organizing. And they're content creators themselves, as well as educators. They're organizing direct action and events, and they are actively amplifying like other voices throughout the movement. So just really, really strong stuff. They hold 5 core values, and so these are in their words, so I'm just going to read this straight up. So 5 core values. 1, quote, we're committed to engaging in meaningful action to fulfill our mission and realize our collective vision through a democratic, consensus-driven process. 2, We challenge each other and promote each other's growth within the collective. 3, we honor multiple truths and understand that we are experts of our own experience, so we strive to be reflective of Black youth without inaccurately claiming to represent every story. We build spaces for other young Black activists to engage and share their own perspectives. 4, we stress holistic energy and intentionally bring our entire selves to our work. 5, we are committed to the radical and purposeful inclusion of all Black people, including but not limited to a diversity of sex, gender, class, citizenship status, sexuality, physical ability, education experiences, and faith. End quote. So these young folks are doing just like really smart work. I find like thinking about those core values, things for all of us kind of to, or I shouldn't say all of us, things that I would like to apply to my own personhood and how I move through the world. So really smart young people doing really important stuff. Consider a donation if you're able to right now. Cool. Up next we have our newish segment. So this is called Ask Yourself. A few weeks ago I wrote up a bunch of questions, and so I'll ask myself the question, try to answer it truthfully and with vulnerability. So let's see what we get. Who keeps us safe? We keep us safe. Who keeps us safe? We keep us safe is this call and response, like chant or mantra, rooted in the social justice protest movement. I first encountered it at anti-war protests at the turn of the century, and have of course been hearing it a lot this summer. I find it deeply moving. There's something about its kind of like awkward grammar. We keep us safe. It has just this interesting rhythm to me. I like how it feels sort of self-contained. There's a promise. It's like a kind of covenant. There's just like a lot of humanity and decency and generosity and communal care packed into 4 short words. We keep us safe. And so with that, let's move into Radical History Snacks. This is a segment on the show in which we feature either cool old food or we highlight moments in the people's history. And so today on Radical History Snacks, we're going to talk about right now. History and radical history is of course happening all the time. This Thursday, 2 young activists named Benny and Patty, I don't know their last names, chained themselves to a pipeline construction project here in East Williamsburg, Brooklyn, New York. It's like a 10-minute walk from my sublet. This is a pipeline which runs mostly through Black and brown neighborhoods, and if completed is intended to transport fracked gas. According to Nobel Peace Prize winning org Physicians for Social Responsibility, pipelines like this in other places have suffered, quote, accidental leaks, deliberate release of gas known as blowdowns, and sometimes devastating explosions, end quote. And so this is running through neighborhoods in which like tens or like hundreds of thousands of people live. So this week, a couple of neighbors chained themselves to the pipe, shutting down, at least temporarily, further construction. So who keeps us safe? We keep us safe. History's happening all the time. Also on Thursday, 5 miles across town at the Stonewall Inn, hundreds of Black trans activists led a many hours-long march through Manhattan, advocating for care, recognition, justice for a population that continues to be targeted for violent oppression. This march is, of course, an echo of the 1969 Stonewall riots. It's been happening every Thursday for like 5 or 6 months. Who keeps us safe? We keep us safe. And hours later, that same evening on national television, a candidate for U.S. president declared unequivocally that trans folk deserved lives free from discrimination. History is happening all the time. The Kings County Distillery is this like really small, like sort of mom and pop like still and bar here in Brooklyn. It's like a half mile west if you're in April, they converted some of their equipment over to make hand sanitizer. Hand sanitizer is mostly alcohol. And so they converted their equipment to make hand sanitizer and has been giving it out at like every protest. I see these folks everywhere. Who keeps us safe? We keep us safe. The resurgence of mutual aid groups, free fridges that are popping up all over, digital activists that are doing information sharing. There's been concerts on porches and dance performances in public squares. And nurses, just being nurses. And a little girl in a park calls out in a little voice, "Black Lives." And 1,000 bike protesters rolling past reply, "Matter," at the top of their lungs. And it echoes off the buildings. Who keeps us safe? We keep us safe. History's happening all the time. Next on our show we have our Some Soothings special feature. This week our special feature is a follow-up to a past radical history snack. As promised, I made gumbo. I generally feel like humor on our show is, at least sort of sophisticated, or at the very least it's really crass. It's not crude. But this next bit is just like totally crude. It's super dumb. I'm a little ashamed of it. But it also is like, it's not a joke. It's just like documentation of the gumbo that I made. So let me just roll this clip for you. It was delicious. Okay, let's play some music. How are we doing? Oh, great. So we can do like maybe 10 minutes of music. That's fantastic. Maybe even 11. So yeah, let's get into that. Let's play some music. Be back here in like 10 minutes or so. Here we go. All right. Thank you all for listening. Let's close with the poem. Louise Glück won the Nobel Prize, which is amazing. She's a really brilliant poet, and also a really great writer on poetry. I have a lot of affection. She has this essay collection called Proofs and Theorems that's really fantastic. It's just like a really, it's a model of how to read and engage with poetry with like real grace and spark and with pleasure. And so let's close with a poem here. This is Louise Glück's Myth of Devotion. When Hades decided he loved this girl, he built for her a duplicate earth. Everything the same, down to the meadow, but with a bed added. Everything the same, including sunlight, because it would be hard on a young girl to go so quickly from bright light to utter darkness. Gradually, he thought he'd introduce the night. First, as the shadows of fluttering leaves, then moon, then stars, then no moon, no stars. Let Persephone get used to it slowly. In the end, he thought she'd find it comforting. Like a replica of Earth, except there was love here. Doesn't everyone want love? He waited many years building a world, watching Persephone in the meadow. Persephone, a smeller, a taster. If you have one appetite, he thought, you have them all. Doesn't everyone want to feel the night? The beloved body, compass, pole star? To hear the quiet breathing that says, I'm alive? That means also that you are alive because you hear me, you're here with me, and when one turns, the other turns. Well, that's what he felt, the Lord of Darkness, looking at the world he had constructed for Persephone. It never crossed his mind that there'd be no smelling here, certainly no more eating. Guilt, terror, the fear of love, these things he couldn't imagine. No lover ever imagines them. He dreams. He wonders what to call this place. First he thinks, the new hell. Then he thinks, the garden. In the end, he decides to name it Persephone's girlhood. A soft light rising above the level meadow behind the bed. He takes her in his arms. He wants to say, I love you. Nothing can hurt you. But he thinks, that's a lie. So he says in the end, you're dead. Nothing can hurt you. Which seems to him a more promising beginning. More true. Okay, with that somber heart-rend, that's our show. That's our season. 10 hours of low-rent TV in the bag. Thanks so much for hanging this season. I am, as always, just so profoundly grateful for you all. Please vote. I'll see you in like 4 or 5 weeks. Until then, take good care of yourselves. Take good care of each other. Good night.